Hello everyone. Today I decided to start a new series of the openings of the defense, and we will start to talk about the Sicilian defense. I received a comment that was asking me to do a video of this defense, so video. And we start with the Kalashnikov variation. So we have e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, takes, and e5. And here we start, we enter in the Kalashnikov. There are many replies. The main one is bishop, knight b5 to and try to go for the d6 square, but it's helpful to know also the other replies. So that are nothing special. So let's say knight takes c6. We can take back on the b6 with the b pawn, and we will go for the d5 push when is the right moment. So maybe first, if we go right now for the d5 push, the center will be open and our king is in the middle. It's is not a problem, but we can do it also later in a more efficient way. So I will show you some quick variation. Let's say knight c3. We can play knight f6, and after bishop c4, bishop b4, and let's say that white pins our knight. We can even play h6, g5, and then go for the e4 pawn because we didn't commit to the castle. So it's fine to ruin the structure around the king's area. But yeah, and let's say bishop takes e5, we can play queen e5 and queen e7, and if white takes, we will win the queen. So we are completely fine in this position. So yeah, knight takes c6 is not a problem for this reason. Let's say now that white moves on f5, another suboptimal move. We can strike in the center right now, and after, well, here he can take with the knight, with the pawn, or with the queen. Let's check first with the pawn. If he takes with the pawn, we can take the knight, and when he takes back, we will take the queen, long castle, that comes with check, and after bishop d2, we can take the pawn on c6, and as strange as may it seems, we are completely fine. We have a clear development plan. Our pieces are active. The king is exposed, is true, but there are no queens on the board, so this is not a problem. And even if he plays something like bishop a6 check, we can bring the king on b8, and then we will develop the knight via e7, maybe to the d5 square. We will push f6, maybe bishop c5. A lot of ideas, but we have kind of control of the center. His king is in the middle, so yeah, we are fine. And now let's check queen takes d5. If queen takes d5, we can trade, and it's the same variation where white can castle, but again, the queens are not on the board, so we are fine. Even if something like I don't know, bishop a6 to go for bishop b7 that threaten the pawn on c6 and the rook on a8. We can even play something like 97 or rook b8 is completely fine to bond the bishop, the dark square bishop to the defense of the b2 pawn. So even here, nothing to be worried. Now let's say that he plays knight f3 and he goes back. Here again, we have to go for the d5 push. This is if we are able to push d5, we are completely fine. So knight f6 to control the d5 square. Let's say knight c3. We will pin the knight, and after bishop d3 or Also, bishop c4 is possible, but let's check bishop d3. We can push. We can strike in the center after take. We will take with the queen, but also with the knight is fine, I think. And this is again a comfortable position. White gave away the advantage of the opening. We have control of the center. Our pieces are active. Even if he castle, we can take back. We can take the knight with the bishop. We will give away the bishop pair, but this is not really a problem. We will play for the endgame. After we trade couple of pieces, the play on the c file will be really important, and white will have to defend. So we can play for the endgame in this position. Just remember that if you go for something like this and he has the bishop pair, maybe want to trade, don't trade to rebuild the structure around the B and C file. Otherwise, we will lose our advantage. So we covered knight f3. Let's cover knight b3 now. Knight b3, we can play knight f6, and after, let's say, bishop g5 to pin the knight, we can give a check, and then retreat on e7. Why we gave this check? Because we want to take away the c3 square for the develop of the knight. This square is important because if the knight moves there, it will control the d5 square, so the d5 push will become harder. But and with this push, we kinda ruin white plan to defend the d5 push. So, even here we are completely fine. Bishop c4, we can castle, but we can also take on e4, and it can seems a bit strange because after there is a check first, but we are fine. I don't suggest you to go for this line, but here, just to know it, we are fine because we have control of the center. We will castle manually. It's not a problem. And here, white's play is really difficult. But there is no reason to go for this complicated line if you don't feel comfortable. We can simply castle, and then we are threatening anyway to take the e4 pawn. So white defense, and we take it. We can take it anyway because after well, let's take with the knight is really important. Because there is a trick, and we can push d5, and we will regain the piece, and here we are winning. If bishop d3, or anyway, if bishop e2, we can take back the piece, and after this sequence, we are up a pawn. We have 7 pawns, and white has 6 pawns. Yeah, it's a double pawn, but it's taking away a lot of square from white developer because these double pawns are controlling these squares, so and are really important squares. So meanwhile, white will try to regain the pawn back. Will convert maybe that pawn, that advantage of the pawn, in an advantage of activity. This is a really common idea to convert one advantage for another one. And we are fine. So even here on knight b3, there is nothing to be worried. Let's check now the main reply, that is knight b5. So knight b5 is made to take advantage of the d6 square. There are lines that maybe if you studied, you can play it at lower time, lower format time, like you could play also a6, but and after check, we can go for we can propose an endgame, and we will be fine here. We can already going for the push, but white can go back and maybe is playable at lower rated format, lower format of time, but when the times goes up, when you have more time to think, yeah, the evaluation of the computer is zero point 0.5, so the advantage that white had in the opening, but is not even that. Is the fact that we gave away our dark bishop, and strategically is not the best choice, because this d7 pawn will become a problem. Push it on d6, but then I don't know. White will have always a point, a target on d6. Will try to control d5. So I think it's a comfortable position for white. So I don't suggest you to go for something like this. I suggest you to play d6. So stop knight d6. And here there are two main moves that are knight on c3 and c4 right now. And the plans, well, there are lines that are similar, but if white plays one line or another, you can choose a more effective way to meet these two plans. Because I don't know, the white in general, not only white, all the players in general try to go for a setup that they know. So maybe a lot of players with knight with c4 or knight c3 would go for the same setup of develop with black, but I think we can take advantage of the orders of moves. So another important thing to remember is that I know that this knight can appear annoying, but we want to play a6, but we want to play a6 only and only when the knight, when the b1 knight goes on c3. So this knight can go, has to go on a3, where it will be out of the games. Because if we play it right now, let's say, I don't h3. If we play it, if we play it now, the knight will go back on c3, and then white will have another way to develop his pieces. So maybe he will develop the bishop and place the knight on d2, and this is more annoying for black. So let's check now the two main replies that are c4 and knight b3. And let's start with knight b3. Knight c3, sorry. Okay, on knight c3, we play a6, as I said, to kick away the knight, and we will try to take advantage of this knight that is out of the game by creating an attack on the king side. So this knight will have to do a lot of moves to reach the a defensive position, and we will play b5 right now to force the knight to go on d5. And here there are two replies. Here you can go for knight f6, that can be reached also from another position. I don't remember the line. I think is called Svesnikov, Sicilian. I will do a video also about that. But with this move order, we can develop the knight on e7. And here there are, well, let's check first knight takes on e7 briefly. We are completely fine. I mean, white gave away a good, really good piece from the d5 square, and move the knight 1, 2, and 3 times to trade it with a knight that we move 1 time. So It's really something away from the principle of chess. Don't waste tempos like that. And now we have the idea of bishop e6, castle on d5, and white knights is in a bad place. So this is the reason why knight takes e7 is fine for us. Let's check now. We will check bishop g5 and c5. And the ideas are a bit different. So let's start with bishop g5. Okay, so we go with bishop g5. And here we can play h6, and after, if bishop retreats on h4, we are fine. We can give a check, and after that, after c3, let's say, we can take the knight. If pawn takes, let's remaneuver the knight via e7 to put pressure on d5, and later on we will have plans of maybe knight f4 to threaten the bishop. But here we are completely fine. White has for sure lost the advantage, and even if queen takes, we can play queen b6. Our bishop is useful here on the e6 square. Maybe f5 is not the best choice now because we play h6. So it's an idea, but when the queens come out of the board. So if instead white goes on, if white takes, we are super fine. Take back with the knight, and we will threaten the knight. And after this falls, we can, if the queen takes, we can play bishop d7, but also bishop e6 is fine. We will develop normally. We will be able for sure to push d5, so it's not a problem. If knight takes instead, we will again take with the knight, and life is good. So this is not a problem. Let's check bishop e3. If bishop e3 to threaten to go on the b6 square, we can take the knight, and after the knight takes, again, a lot of ideas are the same. After knight takes, knight e7, we will go for f4, and maybe now c4. An important thing is that we can sacrifice these pawns in Benko style, because we will have a lot of pressure in the king side, and also on the queen side. So if this is wrong. He can save the bishop, but if white takes, we can take on e3, and we ruin the structure around black king. So after queen check, no, not queen check, sorry, queen check on h4. If he plays g3, we can go also for e4, threaten the rook, and white position is a mess. So these were the ideas on bishop g5. Let's check now c4. No, actually, not c4. We will check bishop e3 right now, because yesterday I had a game with a friend of mine, and I wasn't prepared for this move, but I knew some general ideas, and I will show you how I played this game. I took on d5, and if queen takes, I was happy, because after bishop b7, I have a lot of pressure. But he took with the pawn. That is the right approach. And I remaneuvered the knight via e4, and he went for c4, and I sacrificed the pawn, and I play f6. And my point was that, he can take the pawn he took, but then I will have a lot of pressure with bishop g7. I will have a lot of pressure on this diagonal. I have ideas of push on e5, and also ideas of knight f5, knight d4. So the game went like this. I will show you quickly some moves. He played bishop c4, and brought the knight on f5. He saved the bishop, and here I could have go for e4, but it was a bluff game. I went for knight knight e5 for knight d4, and later on I won that game by playing queen h4, try to put pressure on the king side, and at the right moment I also played e5 e4, sacrificed another pawn to um, to dislodge white pieces from their position, so my attack could go well. Now let's check c4. Okay, on c4 the plans are well kind of the same as I played. I have to say. Um, Here we play first take. Here there are three choices: take with the pawns or take with the queen. So let's cover the easiest one. If he takes with the queen, bishop d7, and after bishop e3, we can push on before knight c2 and bring our bishop on e7. We will castle, and we will later on maybe play queen c7 and bring the bishop on e6 and try to build an attack. So bishop e2, castle, castle, queen c7, and after that maybe b3 to stabilize the position. But also if he goes for something like this, we can play bishop e6, and we are fine. It's a game. Then we have to decide if we want to play on the king side or on the queen side. I think both are fine. Maybe maybe after queen d2 we can go for a5, and we have to decide. We have to check what white does, and then we will understand what to do. So let's check now. C takes the d5. On c takes d5, we have knight d4, and as I was saying, the ideas are kind of similar of the one that the one game that I show you. So bishop e3. We can go for f5, and after take. This is a really important move. We can do it because if queen takes is a huge blunder because we can play bishop e6 and give away another pawn to play bishop f6, and this position is a mess. Is a mess for white. White is losing. We have. We are threatening the b7 pawn that will threaten the rook and the knight, and you can't save both. I mean, you can play knight c2, but you will lose a quality for sure. And we can also threat bishop queen h a5 check, and here we are fine. So this idea of giving away pawns like candy are really interesting. I think this game for sure. Well, positionally, we are worse for sure because we don't have the control of the d5 square. But with the activity, we are a lot better than white. So if white takes, we can take with the knight. We are threatening the bishop. It's not good for white to lose the bishop. So let's say bishop d2, and we can play queen h4. But it's a game. On queen h4, maybe there is a bishop d3. But after bishop e7, we are preparing an attack. We will castle. At the right moment, we can play a lot of stuff here. We can play queen d4. I think even queen f6 is fine, and we are fine. So we will develop normally. We will castle, put pressure on the king side. He already committed on g3, so the light square around the king, around white's king are weak, and we will try to take advantage of that. Let's check. E takes d5. Okay, if it takes d5, we can play knight d4, and after take, we can sacrifice the bishop, the pawn, sorry. We could play bishop e7, but I I check it a bit, the ideas of bishop e7, and I don't think that leads to a position that black really wants to play. White play is comfortable. So my suggestion is, you already saw it in the other lines. My suggestion is to go for g6, and here the play becomes to be more, start to be, sorry, more sharp for both players. But you will give to white a lot to think. So bishop g7, castle, castle, and if he takes, we can. Also play e4, sacrifice a pawn, and if he takes on e4, we are already better because we have queen h4 that threaten the bishop, and we will start to bring our attacker, our pieces to the attack. Maybe not right now, bishop h3, but just to show you, bishop d3. We can play bishop g4 with the idea of kicking away the knight, the queen, and after queen d2, we can give a check. We can do it because if white takes, white is forced to take. We don't take back because if we take back, then there is a queen f4 that is really strong. What we will do first is bishop e5, threaten the h2 pawn, so he doesn't have any more queen f4. And after queen h6, we don't want to trade the queens, so bishop h5. And here the only way to defend is via f4. But after queen g4 and king h1, we can play bishop g7, I think. And here we are completely fine. So let's say that if he does something like this, we can take the bishop, and if he goes on g1, we can take the bishop anyway. So we are fine. Maybe we are a bit exposed. This bishop, but this bishop is strong. So let's check another line. Okay, on g6. When we play when we play e4, let's say that white doesn't take, and white goes on bishop on c4 with the bishop. We can play h4, and after I don't know. Here there are replies after after g3 we have queen h3, and we will bring our attacker. So here we are fine, but we are already threatening knight f3 check with mate, so we will win the queen. He has to play f3, but I mean, white king is super open. So here on rook e1, we can go on rook e8. And then we have a lot of plans. Maybe in some positions there are even plans of f5, f4, because it's true that this diagonal will open, but the d5 pawn in this position, if we play f5, is better than that the d5 pawn is there, because is blocking all the lines. So these were ideas of the Sicilian defense, the Kalashnikov variation. Let me know what you think in the comment. If you if you enjoy the video, leave a like or leave a comment. And if you want to stay updated for more openings or more defense, feel free to subscribe. See you in the next video.